face the two best teams in the Western Conference. And then tonight, Oklahoma City, the Blazers get them on the heels of playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, let's just go once again against the two best teams in the Western Conference. The game, though, just a few nights ago in Minnesota, let me tell you what, I think that one played out a little bit better than a lot of people had anticipated, because you looked at the injury report and the Blazers had nobody. Nobody. Tamani Kamara was out. DeAndre Ayton was out. Scoot was still out. Shea was still out. Matisse Thybulle out. Nobody playing, right? Nobody. And everyone's like, oh, well, chalk this one up. It's going to be a bad day. Bad day in Minnesota. That's not what happened. This is what happened. First off, Rudy Gobert came out. He scored the first bucket of the night to give Minnesota the quick 2-0 lead. But then the Blazers, they went on a 9-0 run to make it 9-2 early. So your Portland Trail Blazers showing a little bit of fight. And as I said on the pregame show, I was like, all year long, Chauncey Billups used the word scrap, scrap, scrap. The team scrapped. They fought hard. I like the way we scrapped. They were scrappy in this one. Every single bucket that Minnie had, the Blazers had an answer. Delano Banton, he ended up scoring 7 of the team's first 12 points, kind of redoing and starting right where he left off in the game against Memphis, where he was on fire in overtime. But towards the end of the first quarter, Naz Reid for Minnesota hit 2 back-to-back threes. Minnesota led after the first quarter 28-26. In the second quarter, the Blazers, they went on a quick run. They opened up on a 6-0 run. They took the lead back. But then, oh man, Minnie, they did their thing from the free throw line. That was a big difference in this one, and you'll know when we get to the box score here in just a second. But man, it was 7 of their first 9 points in the quarter were from the charity stripe. It kept them in this one. That's what kept them in this one. And Portland, they did their best. Portland did grab the Portland does their thing. They get a big bucket from Murray. It's 47-39 Minnesota, and then the Blazers, they start scrapping. Halftime, it's 55-48 in favor of Minnesota. So again, you're looking at this game and you're like, considering that basically half your team was out and you are down 7 points against the best team in the Western Conference, chalk that up as a win. So what's going to happen in the second half? That's the big question. That's the big question. And the Blazers, just like they did the other quarters, they open up on a 5-0 run to make it a 2-point game. Then Minnesota got a few cat layups. I'm not talking cat meow. I'm talking cat Karl Anthony Towns. Got himself a couple layups. He feeds off the run. He's like, no, you're not going to come in. You're not going to get that. And the Blazers, though, they did their thing, man. They pushed. And at the end of 3, it was 88-82. So you're down 6 points going into the fourth quarter against the best team in the Western Conference. How is this one going to shape out? Well, it didn't take long for Minnesota to just kind of put the hammer down. They started the quarter on a 9-0 run. They got the lead up to 15 points. But again, the Blazers kept what? They kept scrapping. You got a massive highlight ESPN top 10 jam from Anthony Simons. Then he hit a 3. Delano Banton got a 3. They're back to within single digits. They're doing everything they can. But as the great Vince Lombardi once said about the Green Bay Packers, the Packers never lost a game. They just ran out of time. And the Blazers didn't lose this game. They just ran out of time. Final score, 119-114 in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. But this was a game, fans, that I think you can't help but love. You can't help but love in a season like this, when things have gone squirrely and it does feel sometimes like the wheels might be falling off, for the team to go in and just battle against one of the best teams in the entire NBA and come out and make them reel a little bit, made them work. That's what you love to see. And you look at the box score, and these are the things that I think if you're a coach, you hope to build on. And of course, Coach will join us a little bit later in the show, live from his press conference. I guess he's not technically joining us. He's talking to the media, but we'll have him on. But you look at the box score, friends, and Dwap Reith, he led your Blazers 26 points in 38 minutes. That is a career high for him in points scored. Chris Murray scored 14, matching his career high. Anthony Simons had 34 points, 5 rebounds, and 14 assists, a career high for Ant. which is also really impressive considering just the lack of shooters in the lineup. When you don't have a ton of them, but he was still able to get the ball moving around. And then, of course, Rayon Rupert, he had 13 points and 6 rebounds, both career highs. So you love that. How can you not love that? Career highs everywhere. Blazers were doing everything they could to scrap with one of the best teams in the entire league. And if I would have told you pregame like we did, Shaedon Sharpe, not playing. DeAndre Ayton, not playing. Scoot Henderson, not playing. Tamani Kamara, not playing. Matisse Thybulle, not playing. Etc., etc., etc. You would have laughed. You'd be like, okay, that's a 20-point loss. Nope, but this team scrapped. That's what happens when you got young guys out there trying to do their best. And, of course, Delano Banton got in the starting lineup. I mean, it's easy to forget, but he had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. I just didn't circle it because it wasn't a career high like everybody else seemed to have. But when Minnesota wanted to flex, they did. You look at what Minnesota was able to do. Rudy Gobert had 25 points and 16 rebounds. He had 19 points from Mike Conley, 14 from Karl Anthony Towns, 13 from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and 9 from Jaden Daniels to round out the starting lineup for Minnesota. See any name missing there? You hear any name missing? Probably going, where's Anthony Edwards? Well, in one of the more odd happenings to ever happen before a game in the NBA, Anthony Edwards was stuck in the back, presumed to be stretching, maybe getting loose for the game, but he wasn't on the court come tip-off. He wasn't ready to go. He was nowhere to be seen. Timberwolves got to delay a game as they're trying to figure everything out. They throw a body out there. Ant comes out, gets to the scorer's table. He checks in about 30 seconds into it, but he came off the bench in this one. And I don't know what he was doing. We can only assume that he was back there stretching, but maybe he was getting a run of Call of Duty in, maybe playing a little bit of Fortnite. He seems like a gamer because he didn't have an Anthony Edwards type night. He had just 13 points on 4 of 10 shooting, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. And you look at the team stats in this one, Blazers shot 49%, Minnesota shot 50%, so you're looking at things right there. You're like, oh, that's pretty close. Blazers won the three-point battle 41% to 39%. Blazers made 16 threes to Minnesota's 11. You love to see that. The rebounding game, 41-40 in favor of your Portland Trail Blazers. The assist game, 28-28 apiece. Where'd the game fall apart then? The free throw line is where the game fell apart. The Minnesota Timberwolves almost had 3 times as many makes as the Blazers had attempts. Wrap your head around that one. The Blazers finished the night 8 of 11 from the 3 free throw stripe. Minnesota 28 of 37. Unreal stuff. Unreal stuff. That was the difference in the game. I mean, if Minnesota wasn't at the line, Portland might have snuck out of there with a win. If Minnesota wasn't able to score, like I said, 7 of their first 9 points there in the second quarter of the free throw line, Portland might have won this game. But all things considered, I think you got to like the fight. Fight matters. Scrapping matters. I know the wins and loss matter to a lot of people too, but man, when you can take little things like this and hopefully build upon them, I think that sets you up good for the next round or whatever that may be, the next season, the next game, the next week. Like I looked at this game, and I don't know what you thought. Get in on the YouTube chat. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. You can get your comments in there. You can look at a beautiful picture of Chad doing, because I didn't make one with me on there in time, but we're still live. But I watched this game, and I go, okay, maybe, just maybe, you can find a way to get Ryan Rupert a little bit more run, because he looked pretty good. He looked good on both sides. Is there things that you wish he could do better defensively? Of course. Do you wish he'd maybe be a little more involved offensively? Of course. But he's a second-round pick. Use him. Get him out there. He was your guy. You drafted him. You want to have some fun with it. Have some fun with it. I think you absolutely can. And you absolutely should. Get the young guys out there. We'll see what the updates are for tonight. The health updates don't look great. I'll tell you that much right off the bat. The Blazers, like I said, they lost about 3/4 of their team going into that game in Minnesota, and it's not going to be much better tonight. I'm actually going to ask Chad about that here in a few minutes when he joins me on the Blazers game day. But as of yesterday, haven't seen the updated one for tonight. Of course, they do update it right before the game. But last night, the Blazers did announce that Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and Robert Williams all out tonight. Of course, Brogdon, Sharp, and Williams. No surprise there. Some people a little bit of surprise that Henderson is out in this one. DeAndre Ayton was listed as doubtful as he's still dealing with that right hand sprain. And then Tamani Kamara, who's dealing with an illness. Luckily, it's just an illness. Of course, we've all been sick. Being sick is no fun, but at least it's just an illness. I mean, that's not going to keep you out for 6 to 8 weeks. He's listed as questionable, as is Jeremy Grant and Matisse Thybulle. And Jeremy Grant's another name that I didn't even mention. Jeremy Grant wasn't a go in Minnesota. So, again, there was so many people out that you forget who was actually out. Like, that's the type of crazy game it was. But the Blazers, man, they scrapped. I'm going to say scrap so many times during this show because I've always kind of laughed that Chauncey says it all the time. Oh, like I said, the team scrapped. The team scrapped. If someone asks him about it pregame, what'd you think about your team's performance last game? He'll probably say, yeah, I love the fact that they scrapped. That's his word. And the team showed it. Maybe you don't know what scrappiness means, but they showed it. They were like Scrappy-Doo out there, right? Let me at him. Let me at him. You remember those old shows. I know you do. I like the fight. These are things I truly believe that the team can build on and be better for. Win or lose. Win or lose. It was an unfortunate loss on Monday. But again, they get a chance to redeem themselves tonight. Unfortunately, it's the second best team in the Western Conference coming to town in the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, we'll hit you with a What's the Scoot? And I will be joined by the boss man, Chad Doing, right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here, up in the Pines, next to section C30, up at the 300 level. Having a little bit of fun. It is time now for What's the Scoot, and what is the Scoot anymore? We haven't seen him in quite a few weeks here, just waiting for him to get back onto the court. He was a scratch for this one. Like I said, some people surprised that he was listed as out, and one of those people that is surprised is sitting to my right now, the man Chad Doing. Chad, what's your take on Scoot?
Well, when I talked to Sean Hyken last week, he had mentioned in conversations with Scoot Henderson that if it were up to him, he would be on the floor playing right now. So I thought for sure that based on what Chauncey had said after talking with Hyken, that it wasn't a serious injury and that he'd be back to start the homestand tonight. So I was surprised when he was listed as out. So that leads me to believe that maybe there was a setback or maybe it's a little more of a severe strain than what we first thought. But the biggest disappointment comes from he's my number one reason to want to watch this team right now because I want to see his development. That recent stretch before the All-Star break, before he left and came back and was on the Pine, was his best stretch of basketball. So it's just a bummer that he's not out there because he's fun to watch. I like his demeanor. And more importantly for this team, like he needs to hit as a draft pick. So I want him on the floor to develop and ramp up because what my hope is, Burkhart, is that by the end of the year, he's get his rookie season under his belt. He enters the offseason with confidence, and then you put in that full summer of work before you arrive at camp next year. Think about what he could potentially do from year one to year two, much like we saw with Jabari Walker this year, going from year one to year two, making a big leap. That's what I want from Scoot. But, man, for the Blazers this year, lack of continuity has been the biggest downer. And when you don't have your key guys, Shaedon Sharpe or Scoot Henderson on the floor to continue that process of development, I just think it stinks.
Well, it's the reps, man. The reps matter because you look at Jabari Walker, a name that you just used, and Jabari Walker looked all right at the beginning of the year. Like, you could tell that he had made the leap in the offseason, but there was still some consistency issues. It still wasn't great. But you got the reps under him this year, right? So you come in, improved, and then you get the reps on top of that. And over the last month, I mean, outside of DeAndre Ayton prior to his injury, like Jabari Walker might have been the most consistent Blazer. You knew what you were getting every single time he's on the court.
Yeah, and, you know, you look at all sports. So, like, tonight's a perfect example. Oklahoma City, obviously they're talented, and they've got an MVP candidate in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But they're right up there near the top of the NBA in terms of fewest games lost due to injury this year. That's one of the main reasons why they've been so good from start until finish and why they're battling for the top spot in the Western Conference is because their guys have been available. And I think the hard part about this year is that, you know, for the Blazers right now, player development is number one. But you and I both know if Brogdon had played a full season, Ayton was available throughout all the games, Scoot, Robert Williams, this is not a 17-win team. And unfortunately, with the lack of continuity, Chauncey Billups has been forced to thrust different guys into starring roles like Ashton Hagen's getting big minutes, Delano Banton, guys who were not part of the plans at the beginning of the year have been now made part of the plans out of necessity, and it's just unfortunate when you're trying to build something, lay a foundation, and grow your young players to where they can get to that point where they can take the next step and be productive NBA guys.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You're completely right there. I mean, you looked at the lineup last night. I mean, you got minutes from Moses Brown and Ibu Baji. Like, these are guys who, you know, the credit to them for playing as hard as they are, but these were G League guys, fringe rotation guys getting big minutes. I mean, Ashton Hagens comes in on a 10-day deal, and then they're like, yeah, we need a body, so we're going to get you on the two-way deal so we can use you a little bit more. Yep. And he comes in and gets 20 minutes a night, and he's been looking good too. So, yeah, man, when you lose bodies to injury, it just derails the train way too quickly.
Now, to credit the young guys, whether you're Ashton Hagens or Delano Banton or Jabari Walker, we've seen numerous guys step into roles and be able to take advantage of that opportunity. Even Duop Reef, who had a career-high 26 against Minnesota. Like, you want to see that. And whether it's here in Portland or it's another team elsewhere, if you're Banton or Ashton Hagens, at least you're getting a chance to showcase what you can do on the NBA level, and that will give you an opportunity to latch on with the Blazers or somewhere else. So I like seeing young guys who didn't think they were going to get a chance to play getting that opportunity and making the most of it like we're seeing here in Portland. That's cool, man, because I like guys that grind and have to fight, scratch, and claw just to get their way to an NBA roster, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get an opportunity to play, and boom, and then you can turn that into something bigger and better.
Yeah, absolutely. You can. I want to throw another question at you. You and Dwight talked about this very briefly yesterday, but it's
created a firestorm.
Yeah, it's making the rounds on social media here, and that was a tweet from Adam Drexler, the son of Blazer legend Clyde Drexler, asking why his dad doesn't have a statue outside Moda. Well, to be fair to Adam, it's a good question, but nobody does. So I want to ask you, I know you've been tweeting about it, but like, who deserves that statue?
It's a great question. I went through, and this is the tweet I put out in response to Adam Drexler. I said, Clyde definitely deserves a statue. I don't care how he left the team. His work in a Trailblazer uniform is basically unmatched. I would create statues for Paul Allen. He saved the Blazers and the Seahawks and was a guy who wanted to win and spent ungodly amounts of cash on the Motor Center, the Rose Quarter, and the team. After that, Bill Walton, Dr. Jack, Bill Schonely, Clyde, and Dame. I would make statues for all of them, and because even though it's 6 statues, that spans the entire organization, and each guy was important in his own individual role. And I think it would look great if you erected those statues and had them around the Rose Quarter with a plaque that would have a list of their accomplishments.
Right.
I think that would look pretty sweet, and I think people would appreciate that. I know a lot of people are like, well, what have they done? They didn't win a championship or whatever. I understand that, but just because you didn't win a championship, it doesn't lower your importance to a franchise or what you meant to a franchise at a particular time.
Yeah, I think there's an obvious one. I think if you're going to build a statue, it needs to happen. I think it's Bill Schonely. I mean, the guy got you Rip City, right? I think that'd be great. And to your point, like, everyone automatically thinks players too. I mean, if you go over to UNLV for Summer League and all, you'll see their statue outside Thomas and Mack Center. It's Tark.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's a legend.
A legend. What, Las Vegas went dark for Tark when he passed away, right? So things like that. But this got me thinking, because you talked about statues and the plaques, and, man, I would go ham for this, and I know Blazer fans would. But, like, right there across the way there where you got Dr. Jackson and all that, if they could put a little building right there that was the Blazers Hall of Fame, and you could go in there any time of the year, and you could see Blazer memorabilia. So you don't need a Paul Allen statue, Chad, but you go in there, and on display is the old school Paul Allen like jacket that he wore to every game, the beat up blue one, right?
Yeah.
It's like that Paul Allen's jacket, and his hat is there, and the shoes that Dame wore when he dropped 70, like that type of stuff, like a Blazer team specific Hall of Fame. That'd be sweet.
I would like that, and my favorite football team is the Denver Broncos. What I like is when you go to a game in Denver, right outside the stadium, they have the Broncos Ring of Fame members that are sitting right out there. And what they did is they created statues with their bust sitting right on top. And then it has a plaque listing their accomplishments. But what I like about that is that I can go and I can read and learn about guys who came before me. And I think it helps with the history of the team. And there's a lot of Trailblazer fans now that don't know about Bill Walton or some of the guys that came before the players I see today. Have a building, like you said, next to Dr. Jack's where you can go into it. You've got your Blazers Ring of Fame, and you can read and see different things about different players that have come throughout the generations. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I'm totally down with that.
There you go. We've solved the problems. And, of course, a statue's job is to remind you about the past, right, and the greatness that came before you. So the Blazers might actually have the biggest statue outside Moda Center in the entire NBA, and that's Veterans Memorial Coliseum.
That's true.
A giant square statue standing as a testament to 1977. Now, of course, I was there a couple weeks ago for the Wrestling State Championship.
Yeah.
And if you walk through VMC,
how does it look now? I haven't been inside in a long time.
It looks exactly like it looked during the last season in 1994.
The last time I was inside the Coliseum was a few years ago when they had that preseason game inside the Coliseum. That was the last time I was inside of it.
Yeah, and then that season ended up being the COVID year, right? But you walk in, and I'm always just like, how did they build an NBA team in this arena? Like, this is weird.
Well, you walk in, and that's what was great about the Coliseum is that even if you had a ticket in the upper tank, you felt like you were close to the floor because you were.
Yeah.
It seems so small compared to the Moda Center.
Dwight and I watched AEW wrestling there a year ago, and I loved it because it was so tight and intimate. It's still a fun little building. That's our statue.
Did you ever go to a game at the Coliseum as a youngster?
Nope. The only one I've been and saw him play was that preseason one that you talked about. I've only been to Moda Center, man.
The first game I went to was like in the 89-90 season. After I had moved out here, the Denver Nuggets were playing at the Coliseum. My brother and I had standing room tickets up at the very top on the back wall. They had these little areas where you could stand, and it was a standing room ticket. That was my first experience at the Coliseum.
Okay. Yeah, my first game was a Clipper game here because, fun fact, the old owner of the original Steer Meat Market, season ticket holder.
Oh.
Was back in the day, still is. And so anytime he couldn't go, is, hey, Jim, your son want my tickets? He can go. So Chris Kaman was playing for the Clippers. That's,
Oh, your dad bought the meat market from somebody else?
Yes, because
Okay.
my dad started working there. Someone else owned it, and he bought it from him when he retired. He's still a season ticket holder up here in Section 300. Maybe I'll run into him today. All right, Chad, we'll let you go. You got to do a little bit of prep. You got a pregame show coming up in about an hour's time. So, have
That's
fun
it?
with that one.
Ah, dang. Here's what I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Like one of the best teams in the NBA, and they have been from the start of the year up until now. They're a half game out of first. Do you consider them a legitimate contender in the Western Conference come playoff time? And if not, why?
I do not. And the why to that is because I still, like you, believe that the Denver Nuggets are the best team in the NBA. I know the Boston Celtics. And come playoff time, 7 games, give me Jokic.
I know, but do you think Oklahoma City could get to the West Finals?
I think they can. But I'm just saying, in a 7-game series, Jokic is going to tear that. They don't have the size to go against Jokic and Aaron Gordon all 7 games. Hardcore. Like Chet's been a really good rookie. You got to give him credit. But you can't tell me that come playoff time with that intensity that Jokic would give him his welcome to the NBA moment.
Would you give the MVP to Shai Gilgeous or Jokic?
Right now? Holy smokes, that's a heck of a question. Right now, I think the MVP I'd give to Shea if it was just those two, just because I think voter fatigue sets in. Like, it doesn't always go to the best player. Otherwise, LeBron would have had like 20 of them, right? He's been the best player in the league forever. But what SGA's done has been incredible.
Like, I love Oklahoma City, but what I've noticed throughout my lifetime watching NBA basketball, teams that are young who are really talented and starting to make their move, there's always been this process where they have to experience playoff failure before they can get over that hump, right? Like,
Yep.
Playoff inexperience, it works against you, but once you go through some of those refining fires of the postseason, you learn how to navigate that. That's why the playoffs are going to be fascinating this year, because Oklahoma City could wind up at 1 or 2 and end up playing Golden State or the Lakers in round 1.
Yeah.
Who would you favor if Oklahoma City were taking on Golden State? Would you pick the Warriors?
No.
Or what if they were playing the Lakers and their size and experience?
I would pick them over Golden State. I would pick them over the Lakers too. But if you were telling me which one of those two teams had the best chance of upsetting them, it'd be the Lakers.
But it wouldn't shock you if the Warriors or the Lakers beat Oklahoma City in the first round.
No, because when you get that vet, I've been there before, you know what to do. It's different. I mean, we've seen it before. Everyone counted out the Warriors, 2 seasons ago? They go and they win an NBA title. So,
But I'm with you. I think Denver is the best team in the NBA. I expect them to win another championship, and I've seen it now the last 2 weeks. They had the game in San Francisco against the Warriors. Golden State played 2.5 or 3/4 of good basketball. Denver cranked it up, and they couldn't match that level, and they lose a game at home. Last Sunday, Lakers Nuggets in LA, same thing happened where Lakers played 3/4 of good basketball. The Nuggets cranked it up in the fourth, and they just couldn't match that level. The Nuggets just took over and controlled the game, and Jokic is playing at such a high level right now. Well coached, good defensive team. Their rotation is set. They're good. I just tipped the cap now. They're awesome, and Jokic is great.
Yeah, absolutely he is. All right, well, go enjoy the rest of your prep. Have a fun time on the pregame show.
All right, and just so people know how much of a warrior Chris Burkhardt is, this guy's been running around all over the state covering different state tournaments the last few weeks. His back is totally jacked up right now. He was limping yesterday. He came hobbling into Motor Center today after being out of Child Center, and he's here grinding on the radio. He's going to be here for the game, and he'll be on the 5th quarter tonight. You're a warrior.
Yeah, I might not be able to get out of this seat, so I might just sit here until the 5th quarter starts.
No team's ever listing you as doubtful.
That's for sure. I'm always ready to go. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll hit you with a scoreboard report.
Yeah.
Here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here with you. Busted back and all. Shout out to my wife. I know she's back there listening. She texted me during the breaks, pumping me up. She's great. I told her I think she missed her calling. She should have been a sports agent. Like, she reminded me of like Jerry Maguire, right? Like, help me help you. All she got to do is send me a text, Shacker. You're back there. All she has to do is send me a text. I'm like, yeah, that's why I married her. She's wonderful. Wonderful. All right, enough of that. You guys wanted basketball. Let's give you a scoreboard report, go around the NBA, see what's happening. Not a lot, since the Blazers are just waiting to see what's going on. But I'm stretching as I get the darn page up because it didn't want to load right. Technology is terrible when I want it to work. Halftime in the nation's capital, the Washington Wizards have the 65-53 lead over the Orlando Magic. Kyle Kuzma with 17 points, Franz Wagner with 16 for Orlando. In Atlanta, the Hawks 31, the Cavaliers 28. Clint Capella has just 4 points. Jarrett Allen has 6 rebounds to lead the Cavs. There's 11 minutes, 20 seconds left in the second quarter there. Second quarter in Philadelphia, 10:30 left. The 76ers 31. The Grizzlies 39. That's a surprising one. Vance Williams Jr. with 8 points. In Houston, the Rockets 27. The Clippers 19. James Harden with 8 points against one of his many former teams. And yet to tip off tonight, Bulls at Jazz, Bucks at Warriors, of course, Kings at Lakers in Los Angeles, and the Thunder versus your Portland Trailblazers right here on Rip City Radio. And for those of you that are interested in the happenings going on around the state today at the high school level, in the 6A, my wife's throwing me off again. In the 6A, Central Catholic grabbed the 59-33 win to open up the action at Chiles Center. It punched their ticket to the OSAA 6A Boys State Championship semifinals. And then Tualatin, the defending state champions, they got a victory over Barlow, 62-48. So now Tualatin and Central Catholic will meet in the semifinals in 2 days at Chiles Center. Grant and Roosevelt Beaverton against Southridge going on a little bit later tonight. 5A action also happening down at Linfield College. Summit grabs the 50-48 victory over Mountain View, and Woodburn grabs the late victory, 54-52 over West Albany. And, of course, Putnam, North Eugene, Redmond, and Wilsonville still yet to be played. So there's a little bit of a high school update for you as well. And again, it's going to be a pretty good game tonight. If the Blazers play like they did against Minnesota, then it's going to be a fun basketball game. Nobody expected that game on Monday to be entertaining. Nobody expected that game to come down to the wire. Everyone was like, I'm just going to sit back, I'm going to enjoy the moment and, get what's going on. No, they played hard. They had me on the edge of my seat. It was fun. It was fun. And I hope we get that a little bit tonight as well. Because if they can play like they did against Minnesota, they're going to give this team a fit for a minute. They're going to make Oklahoma City work. Is Oklahoma City one of the best teams in the league? Without question, one of the best teams in the league. Might be the best. Depends who you ask. If you ask anyone in Oklahoma City, they are. They're going to make noise. They're not going away anytime soon. But the Blazers, they can find ways to make noise too. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the pregame show. When we come back, Chauncey Billups will be talking at the podium. We'll get you live audio from the coach's pregame press conference. Chris Burkhart here with you on the home of the Blazers. Oh, what's becoming of me? My busted back, that's what's becoming of me. Sitting in this chair, doing my best not to seize up. But welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Waiting for Coach Billups to head to the podium. As soon as he does, super producer Michael Shacker will turn that audio up. You'll hear him, and I'll stop talking. Let you listen to what Coach Billups has to say. Hopefully get a good update on who's playing tonight. As late last night, the update was still, Brogdon out, Henderson out, Sharp out, Williams out, Ayton doubtful, Kamara, Grant, and Thibault all questionable. So we'll get an update on that, hopefully, from Coach Billups. And see, what he thinks ahead of this matchup tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like I said, going to be a tough matchup. Always is. Hoping the Blazers can play like they did against Minnesota, though. Didn't get the win in Minnesota, but as I talked to you guys a little bit earlier, just career games all the way across the board. In case you missed it, a career-high 26 points for Dwop Reith. Chris Murray had 14 points to match his career high. He was also in the starting lineup. Anthony Simons had 34 points, a career high 14 assists. That's big time for him, which is interesting. Something I talked to Tom Habistro about is the fact that early in the season when Scoot was starting to get these 10-assist games, it's like he has more double-digit assist games than Ant does in his entire career. And Scoot's a rookie. And over the last few weeks, Ant has really started to step it up on that end. And then Tom keeps a stat about, potential assists. How many of those do you have? Like a shot, a pass you threw, the guy took the shot, missed the shot. If it would have went in, it would have been an assist. And Ant has nights where he's had 17, 18, 20 of those. So it's great to see him get a career-high 14 assists. Previous career high was 11, done just a handful of times. And then, of course, Ryan Rupert, 13 points, 6 rebounds, both career highs for him. So very nice to see just these career highs about the Blazers lineup. And it was definitely a makeshift lineup. Delano Banton, Jabari Walker, Dwop Reith, Chris Murray, Anthony Simons. That was your starting 5 against Minnesota. And, might be the starting 5 tonight. We'll get that update here in just a second. But if it's not, you get Tamani back in there. Maybe you get Tease, get Jeremy Grant, because Jeremy Grant didn't play. Like, it's wild. Again, when you so many starters out, and the Blazers were still able to scrap, as Chauncey Billups likes to say, and put up a good fight in Minnesota against one of the best teams in the NBA. And they get a chance to do it again tonight. Things don't really get easy for the Blazers at all, do they? Not at all. But, man, I like that. I like Ant throwing the ball. I like Ant getting the ball to playmakers. I like listening to Coach Billups. Let's head to the podium.
Shit. It's still kind of up in the air with Jeremy and Tease. Two's out. He worked out this morning and just still a little light. Didn't feel well at all, so I wouldn't be comfortable letting him get out there, even though he would like to. Let's see, Scoot. Scoot's getting better. He's progressing. He's doing a little bit more on the court and stuff, so I think he's getting close. Malcolm is doing more but still experiencing some discomfort in that elbow, so not quite sure where he's at. D.A., he's still got a little pain in that hand. He's doing more too. So I'm happy to see that, but he is still experiencing some pain in his hand. And then again, Jeremy and Tease, kind of game time. I think that's it. Yeah.
Scoot, hopefully this weekend. Is that a possibility?
I'm hoping, at some point one of those games this weekend. If he has no setbacks, he worked pretty good today, and I'm sure he'll be sore from it. But we'll see. We'll see. But he's working his butt off though.
What's Shea been doing?
Not much. Kind of some spot shots on the court. He's bored out of his mind. But yeah, not very much, man. Not very much.
Chauncey, what does, you talk about Luka and Jokic, the MVP guys, and the unique challenges they have with Jokic's size, Luka's strength. Shea doesn't have either of those, but he plays almost exclusively in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a guy who plays basically within a 10-foot width from half court to the rim, and you can't really isolate him to either side. That's really attacking the slot.
Yeah.
How do you defend a guy where you can't take away a half the floor and can see everything all the time?
Yeah, he plays in the you know, his strengths are playing in the most important part of the floor. You know, it's tough to trap him, even though you have to try to. But you know, he's such a gifted scorer. You know, he's very slippery. Like, you can play him really good, and he's just trying to get to those spots. You know, and you just never know which spot he's trying to get to at the time, and then he can throw you off and step back three, or throw you off and get all the way to the rack. And he's got to be, you know, one of the top few toughest covers in the league. He's aggressive the whole game. You know, he don't let off. He don't let off at all. He knows his role. He knows what his team needs, and he is aggressive. He keeps the attack on the whole time. So it's very difficult. He presents a very tough challenge for you, because the same shot that he can make over Ant is the same shot that he can make over two or Jeremy, or, you know, it's like it doesn't matter who's there, if that makes sense, you know. So he makes it very tough for you.
Was there anybody that you can kind of, again, comparison thief joy and everything, but was there anybody from your playing time that had that kind of off-rhythm shakiness in between, kind of playing in the middle of the floor, just difficult to cover in that vein?
I can remember my early years, like guarding Allen Houston. Like, it was like, man, I know he's pulling up, and I know he's not going to dribble more than twice, but damn, I can't get there. I just can't get there. Now he's got more in his game than Allen does, but I can remember that helpless feeling, you know, like, dang, this is good D. How does he keep getting this over? Like, so I could feel my guy's pain sometimes guarding Shea. But yeah, he's one guy that kind of comes to mind in that regard. And also, like, I think T-Mac, who was bigger than Shea, but, man, just could get anywhere at any time. And when he raises up, it's almost like an uncontested shot for him. So the kid is special.
Chauncey, thoughts on Roops and his development this year and the remaining 22 games for him? Are you stepping up his minutes, or is that more of a situation dependent on the health of the other guys? What does he have?
Yeah, I've been very happy with him. You know, I've been very happy with Roops. I just think what he's been able to do, being able to go back and forth with us in the remix, is kind of sped up his development a little bit. His confidence is at a very high level, which is what this game is really all about, you know, confidence. And, yeah, like, I definitely want to play Roops and continue to keep pushing him forward, you know, for the rest of the, you know, for the duration. You know, I don't know how many minutes or when or what, but yeah, he's a part of the future of this team, you know, and you want to try to speed him up best you can, if you will.
He seems to have pretty good defensive instincts. I mean, looking at that Minnesota game.
Yeah.
Dogging people.
Yeah, he is. That's kind of where he hangs his hat at, on the defensive end. He's very scrappy. That's one of the things when I think about, you know, his development, like when we put him in the game maybe earlier in the season or whatever, like, it's like 3 quick fouls, easy. Just because he's coming from playing over there where it's a lot more physical. You can grab, you can hold, and he's made the adjustment now to know that, dang, I just can't do that. You know, I got to understand the length and use it a little differently. So that's just a part of him playing in games, kind of understanding. Scoot too, you know, start of the season, Scoot was fouling every 2 plays. And then he made the adjustment, saying, okay, all right, cool. But you only get that through playing, you know. So, yeah, Roops is a very disruptive defender.
They've got a guy in Gordon Hayward, former top 10 pick, former all-star, who's coming in and trying to play 12, 14 minutes right now. Do you remember a time in your playing career having a guy with, you know, kind of a larger resume, you know, coming and playing a smaller role, and what that was like trying to integrate a guy like that into a different role than maybe they were used to?
Yeah, the first guy that comes to mind for me, I was kind of later in my career when I was with the Clippers. We had Caron Butler, and Caron was like a stud. He was a dude, and now you bring him to the team with Chris and Blake, and I was on the team, and Jamal Crawford was on the team, and he wasn't able to get as many shots as he once got, but he was such a good teammate, that he didn't care about that. And when we needed him to do that, he could do it still, I thought it was really good when they got Gordon, because I think he's a guy, he plays the game the right way. Great size, can pass, got good feel. And you don't need him to be the old Gordon. He can just kind of play off of these guys. I thought that was a very important pickup, man.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, there you have Coach Billups talking to the media just now prior to the game. Some interesting notes there. To key on, though, he did say that Tamani Kamara will be out of action in this one. DeAndre Ayton will also remain out. Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, game time decisions. So we'll see. You may have missed it because, dump button at its finest. But Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant again. Game time decisions. Tamani Kamara, DeAndre Ayton out. Scoot Henderson, he did say, getting a little bit closer to a return. Does hope that, barring any setbacks, he's able to get on the court this weekend. Got to remember the Blazers do have 2 more games coming up here at home. They got a couple, actually, but on Friday against the Rockets and then Saturday against the Raptors. So circle those 2 dates. That might be the return of Scoot Henderson. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the pregame show. When we return, we're going to bring you our Coors Cold Hard Facts right up here from the Pines in the 300 level, right outside entry C31 inside Moda Center. Chris Burkhardt here with you on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhart here with you. We're up at the Pines inside Mona Center, up in the 300 level outside entry C31. Having a fun little time here, getting you ready for Blazers versus Thunder. And it is now time for your Coors Cold Hard Facts. And, I think one of those facts right now is that the Blazers may have accidentally stumbled upon a piece to their future. And that kind of is Dwop Reith, right? And the reason I say accidentally is because we're talking about a guy who's in his mid-late 20s and is a rookie and had a couple chances here and there to latch on with various G League teams or whatnot. And then Blazers get him on a two-way, and then injuries happen, and he gets thrust into the lineup. And then against one of the best teams in the entire NBA with two giant men in the paint in Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, he goes out and he had a career-high 26 points in that team's loss to Minnesota on Monday. And it wasn't just that game. Like, it's not like that's just the only good game Dwop's had. I mean, he's stretched the floor, he's rebounded, he's played good defense. Like, he might be a piece. Like, it's going to be interesting because next year, if everyone comes back healthy and you have DeAndre Ayton, you have Robert Williams at center, like where does Dwop fit in that? You do have versatility. I mean, Robert Williams, you have the ability to play a little bit at the 4 and maybe you run twin tower style, 2 7-footers, let DeAndre and Dwop get out there. But it's incredible what he's been able to do. He deserves a ton of praise, an absolute ton of praise for what he's done, all things considered. Like I said, he wasn't expected to do much at all this year, and what he's done has been above and beyond. And now, if he does anything less, you're like, okay, what's happening? What's happening to Dwop? Like, well, what's going on? And I think it's a good thing. I absolutely think that's a good thing. I think another Coors Cold Hard fact is tonight that you very well might be watching not only the league MVP, but you might be watching the Rookie of the Year. You got Chet Holmgren, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, Chad asked me, who would I pick? Would I pick SGA or Jokic for my MVP? And I said, it's an interesting question because the best player in that conversation right now is Nikola Jokic, in my opinion. But what SGA has done to Oklahoma City to turn them around to become an absolute stud on both ends of the floor, and have a guy on your lineup that you can just give the ball and say, hey, go to town, win us this game, and he'll do it. Like, that's invaluable. And he is playing like an MVP. He's playing like the most important player in that locker room on that roster. So you're going to have a very good chance tonight to see two really, really good players. And the third Coors Cold Hard fact, I like to bring 3 of them. I don't know if there's a rule on how many we have to bring, but my third one, like Chad and I were talking about earlier, fact, capital F. Blazers need to get a Hall of Fame. Get it outside the arena, right there, right next to Dr. Jack's, right? You cannot convince me that you wouldn't go over there early and just go peruse the Hall of Fame and see what they have to offer. Like I said, you got Paul Allen's jacket, or you have whatever else you could get out there. Like I said, you got the Dame shoes from his dropping 70 points. You got the jersey that Clyde wore in the finals against the Bulls. Think of all the stuff that you could throw in there as part of history, right? Maybe you got one of Dr. Jack's jackets, right? Maybe you have the whiteboard that Coach Adelman drew plays up on. Like, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Like, that would be cool. Like, you could walk in there, they have a piece of the floor from the 77 championship game. The bedazzled jacket that Scoot wore on draft night. I mean, what other products would you put in there? Hit me up. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. Join the chat. Like, what other pieces of memorabilia would you add to what could be a Blazers Hall of Fame? It's a really good question, isn't it? Huh. See, now I'm intrigued. I'm absolutely intrigued, like, what other pieces? Maybe just the chair from down on courtside that Paul Allen would sit in all the time. Huh. Chris chimes in on YouTube. He says a Blazers Hall of Fame would be pretty cool. I think it would, Chris. Also, Chris did laugh. He said, "Flat Earthers, have I entered the Kyrie chat?" Because I made a comment, because we did have a comment early in the show on YouTube saying that the NBA is scripted. This was Matthew on YouTube. The NBA is scripted. Wilson basketball had magnet patents since the early 2000s. Well, maybe Wilson's just trying to get into the maybe they're just trying to get into the magnet game. And maybe their patent has something to do with footballs or something. I don't know. But is the NBA scripted? I certainly don't think so. I don't think so. But if you believe the NBA is scripted, then, the Earth's flat. We live inside a glass dome and whatever other conspiracies you want to jumble up. I can't think of any off the top of my head. However, going down conspiracy theory rabbit holes on YouTube can be entertaining. Doesn't mean I have to believe them, but it can be entertaining, right? But no, what other objects would you put in a Blazer Hall of Fame? A Blazer Hall of Fame. That's such a good question. Huh. Oh, okay. So you got to have the you got to have like the mic or the headset that Sean's wore when he was calling games, right? Oh, Chris chimes in with one of the best ones of a non-action variety, but you got to have like the full set of the Dairy Queen cups from the early 90s. Absolutely, you got to have those in there. Oh my goodness, what else? You could have back in the day. They don't, lucky to find one anymore, but you could have any hard copied tickets, actual solid tickets from NBA playoff games, NBA finals chairs. Oh man, you put in the turntable that DJ OG1 scratches on. Like, see, this could be a thing. I'm going to go pose this question on social in a minute, because this is all stemming from, by the way, Adam Drexler, son of Blazer legend Clyde Drexler, asking on social media how come his dad doesn't have a statue outside Moda. His dad is arguably the greatest Blazer of all time. Well, the answer to that is, Adam, just to be completely honest, nobody has a statue outside Moda Center except the word Rip City, if you want to count that. And then it made me think, because I asked Chad, like, statues are cool and all, but I think they're overrated. Retired numbers are cool and all, but I think they're overrated. Like, I hate retired numbers because you always get in the debate, oh, this guy was never good enough to retire his number. But say you didn't want to retire his number, so someone else could go wear number 7, but you had Brandon Roy memorabilia in the Blazer Hall of Fame, right? The jersey he wore in his very first game. Yeah, whatever it was. He set a team record doing this. Put him in there. Like, that would be cool to me. I would go do that on an off night, right? Rachel chimes in. You need a Jack Ramsey towel, right? That'd be cool. Why not? Coach Ramsey used to go down on his knees on a towel while coaching games. Like, that'd be good. JR, Albertson's coloring book. Gary, a Clyde Drexler Wheatie box. Absolutely. These are way better. All the things that you guys just said, that's way better to me than a bronze statue outside that you can go take pictures with. Because if I see a statue of Clyde Drexler, yeah, it makes me think of Clyde. But if I walk in and I see the Wheaties box, like, that gives me memories of, like, my childhood, not just in a Blazer game environment, though, but it makes me think of how the Blazers kind of impact you outside of that. Gets the memories flowing. See, this needs to happen. I need to get a change.org, get a petition going. Where can we get like I said, I would show up early to games. I know you guys would too, if you could go right across the street and go to the Blazer Hall of Fame. Yeah, player shoes, jerseys. Someone chimed in, Rachel, a pair of Jack Ramsey's pants. I mean, they were kind of unique, and he was known by him, right? Maybe I know they probably threw it away because it was a disposable cup, but could you get like the cup that Terry Stotts is drinking the beer out of, and now the meme that everyone's taken from when he was at the Timbers game? But also, so the Blazers, if you've never had a chance to be in the tunnels down under the stadium, down by where Blazers broadcasting is, on the wall they have variations of the jerseys and with the year that those jerseys were worn. And it's not every single jersey they've ever worn, but they have the ones from the 70s and all that. Like, that would be a cool thing to see in a Hall of Fame too, right? So you go into the Hall of Fame and you go into like the uniform wing, and it's literally, there it is on a mannequin or what, like every single uniform they've ever worn. That'd be cool too, right? I think that'd be awesome. You could get memorabilia from Wheels in there. You get memorabilia from Mike and Mike, Steve Jones, right? Like, you guys, I'm hyped for this, and I'm not even. It's not even a real thing. And the chat on YouTube has got me going. Like, you guys are throwing in some good ideas, huh? You could put in one of the headset I'm wearing right now from when I hosted, because I host courtside, so I'm part of that long lineage now too. I could end up in the Blazer Hall of Fame. That's like every Portland kid's dream if they ever had one. Rachel says she had the Clyde Drexler Wheatie box, but my mom threw it away while helping you clean your apartment. Oh, Mom was just trying to help. My wife, one time, I had a not a Wheaties, but I had a Duck T-shirt signed by Kenny Wheaton, the famous Kenny Wheaton's gonna score. Kenny Wheaton's gonna score. Right? Oregon versus Washington, the play that may have turned the tide for Oregon football history. He had it signed for me, said happy birthday, brought it home. Didn't tell my wife that it was a special shirt. A friend gave it to me for a birthday present. And then my wife, being as kind as she is, decided to do laundry that night and grabbed that shirt and washed it. The signature went away. So it's kind of like losing my Wheaties box because I lost my Kenny Wheaton signature. How about part of the original press box that said Trailblazers in Memorial Coliseum Complex during the 70s and 80s? That'd be sweet, too. That'd be sweet. There's so many things, guys, I could think. I'm going to get this on social because this is a real question. You guys got great insight. All right, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, maybe I'll have a few more ideas of what should be inside the Blazers Hall of Fame. If not, regardless, I'm going to give you my keys to the game. Tell you what I think needs to happen for the Blazers to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day, and it is now time for your keys to the game. And key number one, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup with the bigs, especially with DeAndre Ayton not playing in this one again. And if he were playing, my keyword of the game would be to get him going early, get him down low, put some pressure on Chet and company to have to defend him. But that's not the case. But I do think another big can be crucial to have success in this one, again, as you saw in the game on Monday night, and that is Dwop Reith. I think you need to find ways to get Dwop involved and get him involved early, especially with the way he spaces the floor. If he can get the three-point shot falling like he did in Minnesota, then perhaps Chet might have to come out of the paint a little bit while he's guarding him, and that's going to open up the lanes, and you're going to be able to have cutters, and we're going to see if Tumani and Jeremy play, but that's going to open up Matisse and Jeremy Grant play. Tumani is out. But still, that's going to open up the back door. And it's going to open up the paint. It's going to open up layups. It's going to open up easier shots. And if it doesn't, because Chet decides to sag off, it's going to open up shots for Dwop. So I want to see that going. Secondly, another key to this game, and again, it's a key reason that they played so well in Minnesota, and that is Anthony Simons playing smart. Right? When the defense is coming at him, whether they're doubling him or what, and forcing the ball out of his hands, he wasn't just getting the ball out of his hands to get it out of his hands. He was making smart reads and getting the ball to open shooters, and it led to buckets. It led to a career high in assists. So I want to see that. And then third, it was my word of the day after the game. It's my word of the day tonight, and that's just scrap. If you roll over, Oklahoma City is the type of team that will just absolutely flatten you. They will flatten you. They are a bulldozer, and if you give them a runway, they will flatten you. So scrap, fight, scratch, claw. That's what got them that overtime win in Memphis, right? You're down big in the fourth quarter, but you don't flinch. Your young guys just go and hoop. You ball. And that got you in a position to win the game, and then you won the game because you didn't give up. And that's key, right? In Minnesota, you didn't win the game, but the reason it was a close game was because you didn't give up. You kept scratching. You kept clawing. You kept fighting. I mean, you were still trying to hit buckets even though mathematically it was over, but you weren't just going to dribble the clock out. You're going to fight to the end. That's a mentality type thing. Right? And that's the type of mentality the Blazers are playing with right now. So you got to play with that a little bit more. Do those three things, and I think you get a pretty close game in this one. It's going to be tough, though, because even if you play your absolute best, Oklahoma City, they're one of the best teams in the NBA for a reason. And a big one is just continuity in the lineup. Like Chad said, they haven't lost the games to injuries like the Blazers have. Right? They're one of the healthiest teams in the league when you think about it. And that leads to good basketball because when you can get to a point where you can just kind of let things flow, you know where guys are going to be, when they're going to be there. You can play with your eyes closed almost. Leads to good basketball. Look at what happened with the Blazers in 2019. That was a run and a team built on chemistry because no one was arguing that Al-Farouq Aminu was the best starting power forward in the league. No one was arguing Maurice Harkless was a stud of a small forward. No one was arguing those things whatsoever. The lineup was so-so at times. But over the years, they played so many games together that they had chemistry. They had continuity. They could go out there and just play basketball together and have that sixth sense, right, of knowing where guys are going to be, knowing each other's tendencies, and it makes it easier. If I'm going to make a behind-the-back pass or a look away, helps if I know that who I'm playing with and how they like to cut and what they're likely going to do in that situation. Continuity matters. Oklahoma City has that right now. That's why they're so great. So that's it. I don't know what else you could do. You come in, you bring your A game, and you do your best to beat one of the best teams in the entire NBA. A team that might go through a little playoff woe as they have to learn, but this is a team that's going to continue to get better. They've been built the right way. They've hit on their draft picks. They still got plenty more. I mean, this is something that kind of popped in my head when Chad was talking about how good they are, and that was just like, is this team like going to win a championship where KD and Durant and James Harden couldn't? Crazy to think about. All right, that music means one thing. That means it is time to get out of here. But don't go anywhere. The pregame show with Chad Doing starts in just a few minutes. And then Blazers tip off against the Oklahoma City Thunder at 7 p.m. right here on Rip City Radio 620. And then after the game, come right back here. You have me on the fifth quarter. And you can chime in the conversation. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and I'll be there after the game. Rip City, you've been awesome. We'll catch you after this one.